Death Valley is too hot. Okay guys, I don't know how to break it to you, but it's a desert. You kind of expect it to be hot, right? But as absurd as this review sounds, it actually does reveal something important. Death Valley is not the kind of national park you visit with no water, no map, and no plan.
And Joshua Tree has the same problem but in a different way. A lot of one-star reviews that say, just rocks, nothing to do. A lot of driving, overrated. Some of this is unfair. Some of this just shows bad planning on the visitor's part. And some of this is actually useful.
So in this episode, we're going to go through one-star reviews of both Death Valley and Joshua Tree National Parks. Not just to debunk them, but also to see what expectations should be set for each park and any interesting lessons we can learn as well. One-star reviews can oftentimes be funny or terrible criticism, and sometimes are actually really great travel advice.
Before we get started, be sure to check out our individual vlogs on Death Valley and Joshua Tree, which we've linked in the description below. Also, if you enjoy content like this, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who may have just said to you, wait, isn't that park just rocks?
So let's start with these 3 reviews calling Death Valley too hot. And believe me, there are plenty more of these types of reviews. Death Valley is a desert, and not only that, it actually has the world record for the hottest temperature ever recorded. So how do you get around it? We really recommend visiting between November and March, and really ideally between December and February. But irrespective of which time of year you intend to go, definitely check temperatures before you go into the park. If it's going to be too hot in the middle of the day, be sure to go a little bit earlier or even a little bit later, and you might catch a beautiful sunset or stick around until nighttime to catch some of the amazing stargazing.
Alright, let's take a look at our next review. Not worth visiting. The closest big city is Las Vegas, and you still have to drive 120 miles. Absolutely nothing will impress you in the park, and get ready to drive another 60 to 70 miles to their quote-unquote best attractions. No phone signal in any part, only one water station at the visitor center, gas at $7 a gallon. If you want to waste time and money, ... This review actually has a lot of merit and is really a matter of expectations. The closest big city is indeed Las Vegas, which is about a 2-hour drive away. Unless you're staying in the park, the closest accommodations are in Pahrump, Nevada, which is still an hour away, and that was just to the visitor center. Much like other national parks, phone signal is essentially non-existent and spotty at best near Furnace Creek Visitor Center. We highly recommend downloading offline maps to avoid GPS issues. Also, California as a state has the most expensive gas in the country, so no surprise there. In any case, due to the long driving distances to and even within the park, we strongly recommend fueling up before you even head over. We think visitors who understand these things in advance won't be unpleasantly surprised when they arrive.
Okay, let's try our next one. Don't go. Nothing to see here. I have visited major national parks, and I can tell you this is definitely not worth the time. This should have never been a national park. Nothing on the NPS staff. They were all great and really made that place habitable. It's just that it's not as remarkable as other national parks. The rock formation is not that great and quite dusty, hot, etc. Just feels like an open pit mine. The only use case I can see is if you want to experience high temperatures and go there to test yourself or your car AC, haha. So look, I think kind of like the last review, this one really is about expectations. Just to give an example, when Death Valley first opened, there was a lot of debate about whether this could really be a tourist attraction. People were so used to mountains being the tourist attractions that to suddenly have a desert, was it gonna work? They took an experiment, and you know what? It's not surprising to me that decades later, there are still people saying, why did I come here? I totally get it. But look, if you're willing to put the investment in, there's some really beautiful and unique landscapes that can only be seen within Death Valley. Some of the places we highlight in our immersive vlog are the Badlands at Zabriskie Point, the Salt Flats at Badwater Basin, and the volcanic crater at Ubehebe Crater. So if you're willing to put the investment in, there's a lot of unique stuff to see in Death Valley. Don't just write it off because you saw a little bit of desert on the side of the road.
On to our next review. Death Valley National Park is not open currently due to road conditions. We drove 3 hours to find out. I figured that since Google said it was open and that there were recent reviews posted, we'd be able to get in. But no, we got turned away by Park Ranger. They really need to update their Google pages. Listen, we feel her pain. We had gone to Olympic National Park in Washington State last year, and literally the day before we were supposed to visit the eastern part of the park, there was a massive fire and it closed down an entire section of the park. But what we say is the lesson learned: check the NPS website, not Google. The NPS website will always give you the latest information about park closures, trail closures, and anything else you need to know before you visit.
All right, let's check out our next review now. Loved the park, but the hotel, the ranch at Death Valley, was way overpriced, especially when they add a $22 per day resort fee. When we checked in, we were told that they, quote, almost gave our room away because someone with a similar name had checked in earlier, end quote. The clerk then changed the room number on the pre-printed check-in form. We later found out that the original room was actually a recently renovated cottage, and we were given a room in the building at the back of the property, which was in poor condition. Also, the buffet was poor quality. Don't stay at the resort, find somewhere else. Okay, I'm not going to make any comments about the specific experience this gentleman had with the check-in process. That's just outside my purview. But the lesson to learn here is that when you're staying in the park, whether it's Death Valley or any other national park, and they have accommodations on site, just remember the number one thing you're paying for is convenience. As an example, we mentioned earlier, if you stay outside of Death Valley, you're going to commute over an hour each way just to get to the visitor center. If you're staying within the park at Furnace Creek, that's 2 hours per day you're saving of just driving time. So pick your poison. Either stay outside the park and commute 2 hours per day, or stay within the park. Maybe don't get the best hotel in the world, but that's extra time you get to spend actually checking out the amazing scenery. So do whatever's best for yourself.
So those were some of the more instructive 1-star reviews that we found for Death Valley. Now, let's take a look at the same for Joshua Tree. Up first, not worth the extra miles. I passed Joshua Tree on the 10 coming from Quartzsite, Arizona. I pride myself in never being in such a hurry that I passed the national park, so since it was late, I went to Indio. The next morning, I drove 32 miles back to make the drive through the park. It wasn't worth the added miles. I didn't see very many quote-unquote Joshua trees and only saw some unique rock formations. It basically was just more of the same thing I've been looking at for hundreds of miles. Definitely a letdown. So very few people actually realize that Joshua Tree National Park is the meeting point of 2 distinct deserts and therefore 2 distinct ecosystems. The south side, closer to where this individual stayed, is actually the Colorado Desert at lower elevations. And the north part of the park, which is the Mojave Desert, is where the Joshua trees sit. So we feel for this guy, but the lesson learned here is if you're coming to Joshua Tree to see the Joshua trees, you really need to be on the northern side of the park, not the southern side.
Let's check out our next review. I was not impressed. I've seen more Joshua trees at Lake Mead and Grand Canyon. Cool rock formations, and that's about it. Okay, first of all, just to be sure, Joshua trees are endemic to this park, but other parts of the Mojave Desert as well throughout the rest of the southwestern US. The other part that this person realizes is that the cool rock formations really are very cool. We think there are incredible parts of this park to see besides just the Joshua trees, such as the rock formations as well as the Cholla Cactus Garden. So be sure to come check out everything this park has to offer.
Let's check out our next review. Don't bother if you're coming from the north. The 3-hour drive from Las Vegas is what you will see in the park, but the park charges you $35 per day for the pleasure. Listen, we can't comment specifically on the drive from Las Vegas to Joshua Tree because we didn't end up doing it. It very well may be the same as driving through the park. However, for many, maybe millions of visitors, the part of the park that really matters is the experience of being in the park, getting out of the car, going to the viewpoints, hiking the trails, and getting up close and personal with nature. And honestly, you can't do that from within a car.
Okay, so let's check out our last review from Joshua Tree. This has to be one of the least cared about national parks when it comes to the National Park Service. We spent 5 days there in January, and we were astonished at the amount of people purposefully walking off the trail, bringing dogs where the signs specifically say not to. We saw a kid hanging from a Joshua tree. We saw a man carrying a large boulder back from a trail, and we assume he intended to bring it home. We saw a bonfire in the dark sky viewing area. We saw someone flying a drone where they aren't allowed. We also encountered no more than 0 park rangers during those 5 days out on the trails, so unable to report these things. And also, the campground is a wreck. We tore a part of our trailer off just trying to go around a turn because the roads are just rubble. Spent over an hour trying to find a level spot to park it. We've been to a lot of national parks. This was by far our least favorite experience. This one broke my heart to read. And so look, I think a lot of folks probably don't understand some of the principles, and so here's a quick public service announcement. Observe the leave no trace principle when you visit parks. That means what we're trying to do is preserve these parks for generations to come. Don't hang from Joshua trees, don't take boulders home, don't set bonfires in the dark sky viewing area. Even if it's allowed, it's just not very nice to the people who are there to go stargazing. So try to be a good guest. Remember, there are millions of other people who are trying to visit the park, not just this year, but for years to come.
I actually stumbled upon these one-star reviews a couple months ago and shared them more for entertainment value with some friends. But the more I looked at them, the more I realized that they actually provide some useful lessons learned for future visitors. We hope that what we shared with you today is useful to you in planning your future trip to either Death Valley or Joshua Tree National Park. Also, be sure to check out our immersive videos for both parks linked below so that you have all the information that we had to share about where to stay, the hikes we did, and any tips and tricks we had specific to each park.
So what did you think of these one-star reviews? Did we miss anything instructive from them? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this content useful, we'd love if you'd like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with a friend who might be visiting Joshua Tree or Death Valley soon.
We look forward to seeing you on our next adventure. Bye for now.